Inspiration. Okay. I know that you were deployed to Iraq twice, and once for more than 13 months. Can you tell us about your experience in Iraq?
Yes, it was a fascinating time. I was there every year from 2003 to 2007, of which 2 of those years were for year-long deployments. And the mission itself, particularly for me and our organization, we had predominantly logistics responsibilities. We also had engineers that had to clear the routes. We had construction projects. We had an infantry brigade that had to help secure the routes as well. So I consider that everything that we did was high stakes, and we had soldiers' lives at risk. We also were working to support the Iraqi security forces so that they could be more empowered to take care of their own country. And so working with them, also, I considered high stakes. We needed to make progress to be able to move towards turning over the responsibility of their country to the Iraqis.
And did you face any challenge in that time?
There were challenges every day, whether it was trying to get 1 million gallons of fuel into the country and dispersed to where it needed to be, or the food or fuel. But again, I would consider the biggest challenge is, how do we take care of all of our soldiers while we are in a high threat environment? Whether it's IEDs, the improvised explosive devices that were on the roads, whether it was rockets that were flying overhead. How do you continue to do your mission and consider soldier protection and safety in that type of an environment? And so again, leadership challenges abound, whether it was logistics or personnel and soldier protection. It was always looking at those main areas to be successful.
And in the middle of that turmoil, what was your mindset? Because I know that that's not a safe place to be. So what was your mindset?
My mindset, particularly in Iraq, is really being focused. And it really helped that we know that our families are being taken care of while we're in a combat zone, that they're in a safe place. And it really wasn't the same for the Iraqi security forces. I learned to appreciate the safety that our families were in when the Iraqis had to move their family every couple of months because they were threatened by working with the Americans. And I always found that amazing, that we are sacrificing our time, and some of our soldiers paid the ultimate price to be there. But they did this knowing their families also were not necessarily taken care of. And that's another challenge.
That's another challenge. So were you there by yourself, or your family, or just you?
Well, my husband was also in the Army, and for my first deployment, we were both deployed for some of the time. And so we made sure that our daughter was well taken care of, with the family and caretakers there with her. But it did raise the stakes again, knowing that 2 parents were in a combat zone, and it made that a little bit more challenging and high pressure for the family back at home.
So the first time was 13 months, or the second?
The first time was 13 months. We were there and got extended. And on our way back, we were due back on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. And we had a little layover in Germany, and a catering truck hit our plane. Needless to say, we got delayed again. But we eventually made it home, and I was very thankful to be home and whole.
And during that time, did you have any communication with your daughter, or not at all?
At that time, FaceTime and Skype had not really come along yet, but there was email. And so that was helpful, and of course letters and packages that could go back and forth. The second time I was deployed, my husband was able to send little videos of our daughter, and that was a really morale booster to be able to just see pictures and videos at that point. So we still didn't have FaceTime or Skype.
Skype.
But we didn't know what we were missing.
Yeah, definitely, I understand. Well, now that you are retired from the military, what are you doing in your personal and professional life?
At first, when I retired, I really just wanted to be able to have flexible time and spend time with my daughter. And I was fortunate that somebody advised me to become an independent consultant. And I enjoyed doing that, and eventually evolved into another company with some colleagues, and I was a president and partner of First Canoe Strategies and Consulting. And I have since then gone back to being an independent, and I did some other positions and worked with a Native Hawaiian firm in between. But since I'm pursuing a doctoral degree, having flexibility again was important to me. And so our daughter's going to be off to college, and I look forward to continuing consulting and pursuing the doctoral degree.
Is your daughter thinking about the Army, or?
Our daughter is not.
Okay.
And I really enjoy being able to live a different kind of life through her. And the fact that she's 5'9", blonde hair and blue eyes, she has definitely taken a different route, and she's able to do things like model when I couldn't even spell the word. And so I've really enjoyed seeing another aspect of a world outside of the military.
So what about your personal life? Just a little bit. What are you doing?
Well, I feel very blessed. And so since I've retired from the military, one of the things that I never did really in the military was volunteer. Well, the military is service, but I didn't get to volunteer with different organizations. And so since I've retired, volunteering has been a big aspect. And I contribute a lot of time, whether it's through Queens Health Systems with their board, Chaminade University, and the Oahu Economic Development Board. Also recently with the Military Affairs Council and the Association of the United States Army. And back to West Point, and I like to make sure that kids here know about the opportunities of the military academy at West Point. And so I serve as a state coordinator, and so happy to have just come back from West Point, and I did a 12-mile road march with the new cadets as they went from their field training and Camp Buckner back to West Point to begin their academic year.
And what was the experience now when you went back to West Point?
It was fascinating, and I have to say it was much more enjoyable because I didn't have to wear a ruck this time, and I didn't have to wear a helmet or carry a weapon. So it was a lot more enjoyable physically, but I was so motivated to see the new cadets. They are motivated kids, smart, and ready to, take on the challenges. And ultimately, they will serve in the Army as a second lieutenant.
What is the average age in the West Point Academy?
They're generally 17, 18 going in as freshmen or plebes, and they can't be older than 21 by the time they start West Point.
Now, Christine, as a colonel, what advice can you give to all of us to be better leaders in business and in life?
Well, I think I'm going to first go back to the grit and perseverance. Because there are going to be those challenging times, and to know that you are going to persevere, know that there may be challenging times that you're going to push through. No matter what I've done, and I feel I've had a fairly blessed life, but there definitely were challenges at the academy, in the Army, and so that is one of the things that I think I've been able to say has led to success. The other thing that I have subscribed to is I think I'm an eternal optimist. And so, I may be given
a positive attitude.
Yes. So I may be given a lemon, but I'm going to figure out how to make lemonade out of it.
So you're always, it doesn't matter what happens, perseverance, leadership is the main ingredients.
Yes, and I think as a leader, when things are tough, the leader has to remain positive and moving in the right direction. So when you face those hardships or the challenges, the leader has to be selfless about it and set a positive example and move in a positive direction, despite whatever the circumstances are.
Another thing that I read was about the Hurricane Katrina. You were involved as well.
Yes, so after we redeployed from our first tour in Iraq, Hurricane Katrina wreaked some devastation in New Orleans. And we deployed there, and it was actually quite nice to be able to help fellow U.S. citizens while we were not deployed. And unfortunately, right now, Baton Rouge is suffering from flooding as well. And my heart goes out to those folks because those are rough conditions. But I was thankful that the military could go and we could apply our experience and expertise of establishing logistics in some challenging conditions of not having roadways and that type of thing. While we were there, Hurricane Rita hit some of the outer parishes, and we relocated to Cameron Parish, and we needed to help communities where their mausoleums and their gravestones had upended from the storm. So their coroner asked if we could help with recovery of remains, and they would try and get them put into a warehouse so that the communities could then come back to their homes and try and start rebuilding their lives. And so the military was able to help through remains recovery. Also, water sources had been compromised, and so our water teams were able to go in with water purification units, help provide clean water.
Oh, okay. How long were you involved in that mission?
It was a little over a month.
Now, let me ask you, what challenge have you faced in your life, in your personal or professional life? A big challenge that you have faced. I'm going to put you in the spot.
Well, let me go backwards. First, since I've retired, I think my biggest challenge has been saying no. Because there are so many good causes, so many good things going on, that it's hard to say no to something that should be done. And so I've really had to learn to then prioritize what I'm able to do and still maintain some level of balance in my life. So I think post-military, that was the biggest challenge. I'd say in the military, the biggest challenge is losing a colleague. And knowing that their family is dealing with a loss, and that some of us have been able to redeploy, and we are fortunate that, and for me, coming back whole with all my limbs, and not too much of a mental issue. My husband might have a argument about that, but I think being able to come back and reestablish our lives is something we should be thankful for, but it's also hard when I see a Gold Star parent or a Gold Star spouse that has lost somebody in conflict or through their service.
And I know being through all that turmoil in the military in Iraq, it is hard, it's tough. I know you have seen many things that is really hard to forget. So do you have like a routine, like a ritual that you practice daily to put your mind in the right direction, or that just happens automatically?
No, I think that one of the most important things that a leader can do is make time for reflection. And so it may be very busy day to day and long days, but I think if the leader can set aside some time to reflect, think about the big picture, think about those things that are not into the details, the leader will have a better perspective. And I think that's something that I didn't necessarily do well initially, and as I have matured and studied more, that I have much more belief and understand the importance of leader reflection.
Now, what advice would you give to all of us to be more successful in business and in life?
I do believe starting with a positive attitude is key, and setting the goals. I think a lot of us get very comfortable and we stay in our comfort zone. And one of the things that I think I've tried to continually do is push the envelope and get outside of my comfort zone. And that helps me continue to learn, continue to push myself, not be complacent. And so you may have success, but I think your success can always be better, and you shouldn't be complacent about where that level of success is. So I think always looking forward and continuing to improve yourself, regardless of what it is, that's always helpful to keep you moving in the right direction.
So any person or any book that inspired you to keep moving forward?
Well, I have to start with my parents.
Your parents?
Yes. I'd have to say, first of all, my mother has been supportive, and because my parents didn't come from a lot of means, I've watched them develop, and my mother pushed for activities of things she couldn't do. My father was very driven and has been very successful in his life, and even at 77 continues to do things like the Great Aloha Run and participate in the Golden Age Games. And so I have great examples to inspire me that you don't have to just settle. And he's been retired for a while, but he has given so much back to the community, and I think that has been an inspiration for me as well. But I've seen a number of your videos, and I would subscribe to a winner's mindset and taking time to meditate or reflect, to set those goals and put yourself in the right mindset to be able to accomplish whatever goals you're setting.
I totally agree with you. I believe that mindset is everything. An attitude, of course. You know, a positive attitude is always going to take you to the top. A negative attitude is going to take you to the bottom. So you have to put them in a balance. Where do you want to go? To the bottom or to the top?